My first guest, kicked, blasted, gouged, crushed, kicked some mole, smashed, gouged, punched, his way to stardom. Please welcome Steven Seagal.
Warner Brothers, 1986. A bunch of powerful, suit-wearing studio bigwigs are summoned to a studio lunch like no other. They're set to observe an aikido demonstration by a superstar trainer named Steven Seagal, previously known as the fight choreographer who broke Sean Connery's wrist while training him for Never Say Never Again.
But a number of years ago with a guy who's become very successful, Steven Seagal.
Oh, sure.
And we had this training in the building where I had an apartment, and he was really very, very good and everything. And then I got a little cocky because I thought I knew what I was doing. He broke my wrist.
Wow.
And, oh yeah, and it was so well put together here, I still have it broken.
Is it still broken?
Yeah.
And somehow he kept getting work. Not only that, by the end of the demonstration, mangled stuntmen lie on the floor while a blood-stained Steven Seagal walks away with a movie deal. Unbeknownst to all, we'll establish him as perhaps the hottest action star of the early 90s, only for his career to eventually collapse under the weight of his own ego. But in the early days, the sky was the limit for Seagal, and his first movie, Above the Law, stands as an impressive big-screen introduction to one of the most enigmatic movie stars of his time. Above the Law stars Steven Seagal as Nico Toscani, a Chicago cop with roots that go back to Palermo, Sicily. The movie's opening sequence does a good job establishing not only Nico's past, but Seagal's too. As Seagal's voiceover explains Nico's early fascination with aikido and his stint in Japan, we see real archive photos of Seagal doing the same thing. And if you're a Seagal enthusiast, you'll know that the man was always cagey about his past, suggesting a history with the CIA.
So you think I'm a bad cop, huh, Neely? You know something? Maybe I am. But at least I don't have my face buried up Washington's ass.
In Above the Law, Nico was shown to be a veteran of covert operations run by the CIA at the Vietnamese-Cambodian border, and the film kicks off with Nico leaving the agency in a fury when he discovers his superiors are using torture to extract information. While one can't help but view Above the Law's early sequences with a raised eyebrow, given that many of Seagal's boasts were discredited in the years to come, it can't be denied that this opening sequence is one of the most masterful introductions ever for an action star. Seagal is unique in that he never had to suffer the indignity of playing a henchman or even a supporting role before getting his shot at stardom. After all, Stallone had to do a bit of porn. Schwarzenegger did Hercules in New York.
I am tired of the same old faces, the same old things.
And tons of roles where all he had to do was look muscular. And even Jean-Claude Van Damme had to dance on the beach for Canon Pictures during Breakin'. But Seagal was the lead right from the get-go. You didn't see Seagal doing the 80s equivalent of My Spy or Tooth Fairy, did you? Above the Law still ranks as one of Seagal's better movies. It helps that the director, Andrew Davis, was a real pro. A few years earlier, he'd gotten a great performance out of Chuck Norris for the film Code of Silence, and he was the perfect choice to helm Seagal's first movie.
Hey, I'm not gonna shoot you. These guys are gonna beat you to death. Túmbale la cabeza, vamos!
While people joke about Seagal's ponytail and outrageous wardrobe in later movies,
then you will find your way back.
He's much more down to earth than Above the Law. He dresses conservatively and the ponytail isn't there yet. In fact, Seagal is notably balding, with him obviously having a little work done in between this and Hard to Kill. The screenplay for the movie is better than you'd expect, with it a far cry from the more typically right-wing action movies of the era. In this one, Nico is working against rogue factions of the CIA, and it tackles then controversial topics, such as the agency's involvement in Central American conflicts. That said, the film doesn't shy away from stupidity either, such as a mind-bogglingly dumb moment where Seagal executes an unarmed man in broad daylight, all the while popping off a silly one-liner.
I don't think you can drop us off, badass.
You're right, but I'll get an A for effort.
The aikido battles are what made the movie something of a sensation, as nobody'd ever really seen that kind of fighting in movies before. Seagal is actually a somewhat terrifying opponent in how he's able to demolish all comers, brutally and even sadistically. At this point, Seagal's ego wasn't quite into overdrive yet.
Can I laugh in your face? Really? Yes.
So he actually takes a few licks and, shocker, is captured by the bad guys at the end and tortured.
Here you go, Toscani. Dr. Feelgood.
The film has a pretty great supporting cast, led by blaxploitation icon Pam Grier as Nico's tough partner, who all the guys can't stop drooling over. I mean, who can really blame them, right? Davis fills the movie with lots of Chicago tough guys. Plus, there's one of the most popular 80s bad guys, Henry Silva, as the main villain, the CIA interrogator Kurt Zagan. You even get a young Sharon Stone as Nico's wife, although her role is pretty minor all things considered. She was showcased to greatest effect in the same year's Action Jackson, which you can also catch here on Real Action. I mean, come on, dig that sweet plug, right? When all was said and done, Above the Law was only a minor success theatrically, grossing $18.7 million off a $7.5 million budget. It was enough to turn a profit, but home video was where the movie really took off, guaranteeing that Warner Brothers would make a follow-up Seagal movie, Hard to Kill, which grossed more than 3 times what this did, while cementing his stardom as a new face in the action hero wars.
I'm gonna take you to the bank, Senator Trent. To the blood bank.